Will this Hendrix-inspired vibe pedal deliver psychedelic magic? Hello people, Joe from Hello Sailor Effects here. Welcome to today's video. In today's video, we're taking a look at the Moen Shaky Jimi. Now, I was set this challenge by my good friend Mr. Budget Pedal Chap, and he wanted me to mod this pedal. So I did some digging on some mods that are out there, and the only one I could find was his own mod. So I've used it against him. Actually, I've just changed it to a more refined version, but I thought that maybe that wasn't quite enough to do. So I did what any normal person would do, and I asked ChatGPT what mods I should do to this pedal, and it gave me 4 capacitor changes to carry out. Stick around to the end and you'll get to decide whether this version modified by myself and ChatGPT is better or the original version. Cheers. And here we have the Shaky Jimi. As you can see, I didn't refinish this enclosure because, well, come on, it's purple and it's got Jimi on. There's no way I could do that. It looks amazing. So this is a rare occasion where I'm going to leave the enclosure as it is. Now, for the mods, firstly, this is going to be a special one because for the first time ever, I didn't know how to mod this pedal. I weren't too sure. There wasn't a lot of information on it. And online it says it's the same as the Easy Vibe circuit. And it does appear to be similar, and I couldn't really find any mods, none that I liked anyway, apart from, of course, Mr. Budget Pedal Chap, who would put tape over the LDRs to change it up. I'll link his video above now, but I thought that was a cool mod, so I'm going to add that as a switchable mod, where we'll switch from these LEDs to ones that I'm probably going to mount over here and wrap in tape, so then out the way of the circuit, and they will stop the light hitting these LDRs, and that means that we'll get that mod on a switch. And the other mods that I'm going to do now, let me just explain something first. I am 100% an old school engineer. Like, I joined the military many, I think I've been in 22 years now as a military engineer, and I've never once had to rely on computers to help me. However, for this mod, I actually asked AI what I should do to mod it. Get on. So AI's answer was to up all of these 4 caps here, these orange drops, which look pretty good to me, but it says to up them one value up. For example, we have here 0.015. I'm going to change that to a 0.022. Here's a 0.1, and I change that to maybe, I might add that to be a 0.15 or maybe 0.22. And same over here, we've got a 0.047. I'm going to change that to a 0.1. Now, I have no clue where it says online. Well, it says online. It's not even online. AI is telling me that that's going to make it sound thicker and more lush. It's using some buzzwords, clearly. So, we're going to go with that. And I'm going to submit to our new AI overlords. Right. First things first, for the LEDs, all I'm going to do is the positive side of the LED, I'm just going to cut, and then I will run the LED to a switch, and that'll go to the center of the switch, and then the outside of the switch will either go back to here, or it will go round here to a separate set of LEDs. Now, I think I haven't quite decided whether I'm going to do 2 switches and have this bank of LEDs switchable, and this side switchable separately, or if I'm going to do a 3-way double pole, because that's all I've got. I haven't got a 4-way. A 3-way double pole, and then make 3 of the LEDs switchable in one go and just leave 1 LED on its own. I haven't quite decided that yet, but we will get there when we get to it. Hello people, apologies for interrupting this absolutely awesome psychedelic mod to bring you a little bit of a sit rep. We now have a merch store. So if you want to rock around in a cool trucker's cap, a 40-year-old sailor's cool? Probably not. Anyway, if you want to rock around in a trucker's cap, or even a jumper and t-shirt, or other merch to support the show, check out the shop below. This cap we're going to change is this 47 NF here, and I'm going to be changing it for this 100 NF cap. Hopefully that'll add a little bit of thickness to the circuit. Now, to change this cap, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my soldering iron, wet the tip, hey, never get bored of saying that, find the bottom of where it goes, which is right here. I'm going to put the soldering iron on one leg and then just gently pull it so that then the cap releases from the hole. Now I know I should be using solder braid, which I'm sure if I was to search in here I'd probably find some.
5 hours later.
Yeah, there you go. So you should use this stuff to clean the pads, yada yada yada. So wet the tip and then I'll go to the other end of that cap and do the same thing and just use the cap body to lever it out. There we go, and there is our cap removed. Now I like to clean the legs of these. I mean, you could probably use solvent or sandpaper. I either use a razor blade or a Stanley blade, as we say in Liverpool, or I just use my my snips just to clean any of the mess that's on the leg off. What I like to do, because I don't actually clean the pads properly, and do you know what, I know I should clean the pads, and I'm going to get 1,000 comments on this video telling me just clean the pads, Joe, get in. However, because I haven't cleaned the pads, there's still solder in there. So what I like to do is I'll clip one leg short and one leg slightly longer, as such. Now I'll put the longer leg in first, put my soldering iron on the bottom of the pad, and the leg should drop in until this leg hits the next pad, and then I'll heat that pad up and push this one in as well, and it just kind of works. Now if you feel the need to write in the comments telling me how terrible I am at this stuff, please do, it's welcome. Or if you have an easier way that's faster, that doesn't involve stopping to find some solder braid or something, then equally I'm all ears. Let's see. It's not too bad on something like this, because these Moen circuit boards are actually pretty decent as far as they go. And there we go, we've got our thing in. Now I'm just going to go ahead and tidy up the joints on the bottom to make sure that they're tip top, re-wet them as it were. Next on the chopping board is this 0.22 or 220 NF, as I like to say. Now this one here I'm going to remove, but I'm going to use it in this position here instead of this 0.1 or 100 NF. So I'll save this one and try and get it out without distorting it too much. Luckily enough, this one actually has, if I can get it in focus, has an abnormally long leg, which will work perfectly for fitting it into our new position. So I'll put that to one side. Now in that position I'm going to use this 330 NF cap. Come in a bunch that my mate Teddy Plank gave me, that I've explained in many videos before. I haven't quite got through them all. So I'm going to try and manipulate these legs to get them to the same width as that, and all I do is straighten them out. And you know what, I have shown this before on videos, but why not? Right, so I straighten the legs out and I'll bend one leg in on itself and then straighten it out there, and that'll give me the spacing. There'll be a bit of an overhang, but we're good with that, and I'm going to fit it in that way there. But before we do that, I'm going to remove this cap too while I've got the space, because this one's quite big. I'm going to remove this cap and probably I will replace it with a 22 NF. Of course, I had to use a tropical fish cap. Why not? Come on, please write the hate in the comments. Yeah, so I'll replace that tropical fish cap first, then I'll replace this one in there and we'll catch up. Here we have our 0.33 or 330 NF cap in, and our 22 NF cap now in. The last cap to do is to switch out this 0.1 or 100 NF orange drop for the 0.22 or 220 NF orange drop that was in this position. Now a few thoughts. Firstly, my next door neighbour, who coincidentally is the hardest working man I've ever met, is currently using the SDS drill in the garden to drill concrete and put some posts in. So apologies if you can hear that. Also, It's just dawned on me that I'm blindly following AI to mod a circuit board, and this very well may not work or not have any difference. Worst of all, may not work when I get it back together. So this is interesting. Now let's get on to the last cap, and then we'll get this back together before we mess about with our LEDs. That's our final cap now fitted. We're ready to rebuild this up, get our switch fitted before we add in the LED mod from my good friend Mr. Budget Pedal chap who inspired this video. And actually, I've got to say a massive thank you to him for suggesting that I mod this pedal, because I had no idea that Moen pedals were built so well. I mean, this PCB is literally top notch. It had orange drop capacitors on it already. The pots are really nice. You know, it's really well built, and it costs next to no money at all. So, and let's face it, this is the first pedal that I've come to that I haven't felt the need to refinish, which is insane, because I refinish everything.
On the mountain, 100 miles from town.
So kudos to Moen for this one. It looks like this is the 2012 revision, if anyone's interested. I'm not even sure if this is available anymore. Well, there you go. Here's our pedal now back together, mostly. I've added this switch here, so I had to drill the enclosure, not for the faint of hearted, and I've added this switch here. Now it is an on-off-on switch. Really, I need an on-on switch, but I love these short levers, and this is all I've got in the short lever type, so we're going to have a center off position. It's going to kill the pedal, but there you go. Now, to do these, we want to locate which half of these LEDs is the live. So what I'm going to do is simply lift it up and take a look at it. Now, let's see if we can get that in focus. If that's in focus, you'll be able to see that one half of this LED has like a cracked line inside in the plate inside that leads to one leg. That is the positive leg. And on this particular LED, it is the outboard side, so the one closest to here. Same on this LED, same on this LED, and same on this LED. So the positive side is going to be on this side here. So that's positive leg, positive leg. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these back in place. I'm going to go along and snip the positive leg on all of them. No, not on all of them, on two of them, these two. Yeah. Oh yeah, I've just realized, look at that, on the fly, I've only got a double pole double throw switch. So to do this correctly, I'm going to need to fit another double pole double throw switch on this side. So watch this space, but the positive works the same anyway. So these two are going to go to these two lugs here. That is going to go to there, and that is going to go to there. Negative. Belay my last. Let's start again. The center lug is going to go to here, and this LED, then the positive side is going to go to one side of the switch, and the other side of the switch is going to go to a positive leg of an LED that's going to be mounted somewhere over here, covered in tape, or maybe double-sided foam. I'll get to that when I come to it. And then the negative side of this one is just going to attach to the negative side of this, and they'll be joined together. This switch will either select this LED here, shining at the LDR, or this LED over here, not shining at the LDR. Now, hopefully, I'll have put up some sort of visual up on the screen that will represent this, and if not, apologies. I'm going to go away and drill another hole, cut these legs, and mount the positive sides going to the relevant switch. Now we have the center lugs of these switches now going to our live, coming straight from the circuit board on each side. Next, the live we've just snipped off is now got to go to the corresponding lug this side of the pedal, because if I'm going to put, you know, these lights to turn on, I want these lights to turn on as well. So I'm going to connect them to this side here. Now this one here, the live is connected to the bottom lug, so I'm going to connect this to the bottom lug. Not that it really matters, but it just tidies things up in my mind. And I'll do exactly the same for this side here. Now we have the center lugs of these switches now going to our live, coming straight from the circuit board on each side. Next, the live we've just snipped off is now got to go to the corresponding lug this side of the pedal, because if I'm going to put, you know, these lights to turn on, I want these lights to turn on as well. So I'm going to connect them to this side here. Now this one here, the live is connected to the bottom lug, so I'm going to connect this to the bottom lug. Not that it really matters, but it just tidies things up in my mind. And I'll do exactly the same for this side here. Next, I'm going to use LEDs that I'm going to blank off or block off from the LDRs, so then the light isn't hitting them. And that's kind of the budget pedal chap mod, I'm going to call it. Now I don't have any red LEDs, I do have blue ones. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mount them onto a piece of strip board. I've split the strip board in the middle, so if you can imagine, our LEDs are going to sit in here like this, so they're separated, and then there'll be a wire coming out of this side and a wire coming out of this side. The live side will go to our switch, and then the earth side will just attach onto the earth leg of the relevant LED. Now, as ever, I've snipped out the battery snap, because who powers pedals by batteries? Come on now. So I've snipped out the battery snap, and I'm going to use this space where the battery normally goes to mount this little board. Here we have our board with the positive and negative wires coming out. It's just literally 4 LEDs. I'm just going to wire them in as previously stated. Now, when you're wiring it in again, you want to make sure that your live is going to the right place, because otherwise it will not work. So if you look at this, you can clearly see that this side here is the live, because there's just ever so slightly a little cut pointing towards this leg, and that's how you tell an LED is on the live side. And the negative side, obviously, I mean, if you've got the legs, you can check the live side's longer. However, if it's fitted in the circuit, that's how I would check. Now I'm going to go ahead and use my steel reinforced epoxy JB Weld method of fitting boards in, and I'm going to place that in place and wire these up. Now I'm going to make sure that I put the live side facing forward, just so then I know which way to attach it. This is the first LED wired in, so we've got our live coming round and going to our switch. The negative comes round and then attaches to the regular LED that was in there anyway on the negative leg. Now I'm going to repeat the process for the rest of them. This one's going to attach to this one here, and then these two over here, and then we'll give it a test. There we have all LEDs all wired up. Next, I just want to give it a quick test to make sure that these LEDs come on when I switch these switches. To do that, you've got to remember to plug in the input jack, because let's face it, I've spent more than a few hours now looking at various pedals trying to figure out what was broke, and actually it was just the fact that I never had the input jack plugged in. There we are. There we can see we've got our normal LEDs lit up. If what am I changing here to make them flash? This one. Well, anyway, there we have our normal LEDs. We can switch to these ones to see if they light up. Now I'm actually getting no lights, which is interesting to say the least. I don't know if that's
5 hours later.
my mistake. Now if you put them all on, it's pulsing nicely. Right, I'm going to reattach that wire, and then we can do a sound test. Actually, before I do that, I'll reattach this wire, and then we'll get some cable ties in there. Got to be purple, hasn't it? Let's face it. Now we have our cable ties in place. Of course I went with purple. Why not? We're ready to move on with a sound sample. Now, the only visual change I've made to this pedal is, of course, the purple knobs, because, let's face it, it looks awesome anyway. I didn't need to mod the aesthetics of it. Now you're about to hear the tone samples. You're going to hear the original non-psychedelic version of the Moen Shaky Jimi against my modified version. I'd like to know what you think of the sound samples. Now, for me, I don't want to colour your opinion, and I did really promise myself that I wasn't going to say what my opinion was on a video, but I keep saying it in every take, so I'm just going to tell you it anyway. I really prefer the original in the chorus setting. The chorus just sounds much better and brighter in the original, but in the vibe setting, the modified version is so much better. There's less spiky highs. It just sounds much more natural to me. I'd love to know what you think in the comments below. If you enjoyed that sound sample, you're going to love this next video on how to modify a cheap tremolo.